Hello everyone, it's Jean from Inky Studio. Welcome, welcome. This is part two of a two-part series on how I put together the envelope journal with flips. It's a little different than what I've done before in the past. This one will have a room to put in an elastic band for a removable journal on the inside. So I'll show you how I put together all these flips. I will list down below part one that worked on the cover. So let's get started. All right, I'm going to start with the cover that we completed in the last part. I accidentally got ahead of myself and glued paper down here, and I wasn't supposed to, so I had to tear it off. But the cover is finished. I went ahead and put on the back cover, and I got, of course, a heavy-duty scrapbook paper. I think this is a 42-pound weight printing paper I printed on, but you'll want something, it doesn't have to be a cardstock, but something that's more than just a flimsy piece of paper. A nice quality scrapbook paper would be great because it would give you some support in that cover. So I went ahead and glued that on, and I also added another piece here on the spine, and I just did it because I kind of wanted the colors to go around, but you don't have to do that. I just sort of did it. We've got plenty of layers on here so far that you don't need to do that. And so for this journal, I am putting an elastic in between two eyelets. Now, I think in the last part I said that if you were sewing this in, you wouldn't need too many. I put 2 layers of cardstock in here, and you really wouldn't need the 2 layers. You only need maybe the one, maybe. And so if you're sewing it in, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and put in some elastic in there. I am going to be using what I think is really key for me in putting in elastic journals that have the elastic in it, is to use an eyelet that comes with a washer. So you would just look for eyelets with washers in Amazon or in your craft store or whatever. This particular one came from We Are Memory Keepers, but they no longer make this particular setup anymore. And I know why, because it says for the crocodile, but I could never get them to work on a crocodile. And I haven't tried other washer and eyelet setups from other brands on the crocodile, so I don't know, maybe there are other brands that will work. They just never worked for me. And I end up getting an eyelet setter, really simple tool. And so you don't really need a crocodile to set your eyelets, as long as, or any tool. You just need a simple tool like this. And this, I'll put link down below a sample of what this is, and you don't have to buy that. It doesn't really help me out in particular. You can search around for a better deal or buy it from some other place. But these little setters usually come 2-pieced or 1 piece that has a screw on and off, where you can punch the hole and use the setter at the same time, so that you really don't need the crocodile or an expensive large eyelet setter. And there's other kinds of eyelet setters too. You just have to kind of like explore and see what option works for you the best. Now, I went ahead and used my crocodile to put the holes in because it's easy for me to use that tool. And I put in, down probably 3/8 of an inch from the edge at each end. That's where I put my holes at. Now, when you buy these tools, you probably will want to look for either 3/16 of an inch, because that's the common eyelet that most of us use for scrapbooking and journal making. And you can use larger eyelets, but you got to be careful because you've got a narrow spine here. So this is, I believe it's either 4 mm. The millimeters kind of get me confused, but 3/16 of an inch I know is the eyelet in inches. Don't know what it is in millimeters, either 4 or 5, but 3/16 of an inch. And then you'll want a setter that is the same size. So that's what I've looked for, is 3/16 of an inch. And it's just very simple. So now, if you're going to punch the holes with this type of a tool, you want to make sure that you have either a self-healing mat underneath, because you don't want the ring, the hole, to go into your surface. Another, if you don't have one, a good solution is to go to the thrift store and buy like a chopping board, not a glass one, but a chopping board that's made out of either a polyplastic or something that's kind of thick, not thin, but something that has some thickness to it, or a wooden one. Like, we're not supposed to use wooden ones, I guess, because of germ contamination between meats and vegetables, but there might be a wooden one there, which is great. And you can just buy one and designate it for this particular project. So that's an alternative to a self-healing mat. And you simply put your eyelet through the hole, and you're just going to lay the washer over it. Now, what the washer does is it reinforces the hole even more. And so when it comes to elastic bands, I make sure that I use one, because you're constantly pulling on that eyelet with the band. So that's my preference. Now, I'm not saying that the other that washerless eyelets won't work. They probably work fine. It kind of depends, because I do sell these. I want to make sure that it's stable. So that's what I do. And then you just take your tool and you pop it over that hole, and you're just going to bang it, hammer it maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times. And I'm not going to do that on camera, so let me do that off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have them in. I just wanted to show you the difference between having a washer, and so this has a washer, and can you see that all the way around the circle, the metal is filled in. There's metal that you can see. Okay, and it's pretty substantial if you look at it. It's got like a little bit of dimension to it. Then if you look at one that is just without the washer, you can see paper in between spaces there in the circle, and it's a lot flatter. It's a lot flatter. I know it's hard to see on the camera, but in real life there is a bit of a difference. So I just feel like the support is better. But that's me. Heavens to Betsy, I don't want to convince you. So anyways, that is done, and then we'll just be stringing the elastic in there, and I'll just string it around and tie it, and we'll do that when we put the papers in. So we've got, so good, so far so good. Let's do the inside cover here, and we'll do the outside cover, I think, at the end. But I just have, this is just on paper. It's not heavy paper. This is probably, I believe it's 27-pound weight paper. Is what I print on, and I'm going to put that down there, but I want to have some of these envelopes to flap open. So I went ahead and I put in my paper to decorate there on the inside, and I want them to be opposite. So I want this one to be on this side, and I want this one to be on this side, like that. So I want them to be opposite, meaning that when I go to put on my decoration, I want to make sure that it goes up and down if it does have a pattern to it that needs to go up and down. So I just make sure that I do that, right? Okay, and I can put this on later. So I just get my two together. Oh, and also I prepared the inside here for ephemera, because, and I covered this in the last tutorial with the mini albums, but if you have it so close to the edge here to put your ephemera in and out, it'll make it more difficult to try to get inside here to put it in and out. So I go ahead and I cut it off at an angle. Each one I just snip off probably like 1/4 of an inch, like so, so that I have a little bit more room to get the ephemera in and out. Now your envelope may or may not have that issue, but just something for you to check out and think about, pulling your ephemera inside and out. So I've done that to both of them. Just going to align these two how I want them to look on each side. And I am just going to put the same amount of distance between the top of this one and the bottom of that. Just going to have it like so. Okay, and so once I get that, I am going to put on, probably the best thing is just to put clips there. I'm going to hold it, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue this flap down like so, and the same here with that side. And once I have that, then I'm ready to glue this whole project then into the back there. So it's simply how I do it. I like doing it this, I really shouldn't be gluing on my project. I don't know. That's not really good, is it? I like doing, I like sewing around these. Of course, you have to sew it first if that's what you're doing, but I like it because I can glue over the stitching and know that the stitching is really secure. Okay, and now it's all ready to put inside here, like so. Get it centered, and it's all done. So that's the basic. There we go. I just love these echo dyed prints. I really do. They're so beautiful. And these are from Ephemera's Garden, and I'll put a link to them down below, but they're really nice. They just got a variety of colors. And they go so nice. So there is the front. Now we're going to do the back. Now, working with Kraft envelopes, they are kind of heavy, which is true. So for this one, I am going to make a pocket. But for the one on the inside, I'm not. Just because we're already getting quite a bit of ephemera in there. So this one on top will have a little pocket to pull out inside there. And I'm going to put a little decoration there on the side. All right, so let's do the back part. And on the back, oh, we're not done the front. That's right. That's right. Here on the front, or excuse me, on the inside of the front, I want to make a little, like a little photo, old-fashioned photo cover. And it's going to fit inside a belly band. So I'm going to get my belly band made first, because that's going to determine the size of what, gets put inside there. How wide it has to be or can be. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue that in there. And I'm sort of gluing it, following the line of the stitching, just because I felt like it. Not that you have to do that. I just thought that was kind of nice. So the width of your belly band is going to determine the width of your project, which is going to be probably an inch less than the width of your belly band, because if you get too close to where you've glued it on, it becomes a little bit more difficult to get in and out. And so I'm going to put mine right like that. Depends how bulky your what you're stuffing in there, how bulky that is too. So I've determined that, and I love using these green file folder, not file folders, but hangers that you as a hanging file holder is what it is. I love using this because it reminds me that how this this variegated paper looking thing, it just so much reminds me And I used to go in my grandmother's drawer, and she used to have all these old photos, cabinet card photos, and it just reminds me of the fabric or the paper, the cardboard, whatever it is they used. Usually it was black, but there were some ones that are this color too, this green shade. So I really like using them, but they're not as heavy, so they don't take up as much room. So I just cut it the size I want, and I made sure that my little cover is going to fit in here nicely, obviously. I'm going to go and round the corners, and I'm going to use the small rounder, but you can use the larger one if you want. Just a little bit there, just a little bit rounded. You can also snip corners, and I've done this before, where I've just gone in and just take a little bit off the end, just a little bit like that. So if you don't have a smaller punch, you can just take a little snippet off around the edges. I like that little bit of a curve, I guess, and that's personal preference, of course. And this is a digital print of a cabinet card cover. This is the advertisement, or the advertising the photographer. And so I printed one of these out. Now I want to cut this, and I'm going to leave a little bit here as sort of a binder look to it. I don't know. I just really find that pleasing, rather than all the way like this. I like bringing a little bit of that color to the front of it. So when I glue this on, I'm going to allow a little bit of that. Like so. Okay. There we go. Now for the picture on the inside, or for the photo on the inside, I am going to use these old-fashioned scrapbook corners, and these are vintage, so I don't even know where to get them. You probably still can get them, I'm not sure, but I'm going to use these to put it in with. Now these have glue on the back of them, but because they're old, I'm not sure. You would moisten these to stick, but I'm not sure how good the stickiness of them are. So I'm going to do this. I kind of like it, kind of gives it a little more of a vintage feel. So there we are. All right, and I'll ink around this later. Right now I'm just going to slip it in there, and the front part is all finished. Now we're going to work on the back. Now what I've done is I've taken these same envelopes, I've taken them and I've cut them in half. And I have ended up, I cut 2 in half, but I'm only going to use 3 of them and save another one for another pocket. But I end up with 2 of these here. Or excuse me, 3 of these. So what I have with my style of envelope is I have this bit of a gap here. And I've also determined that I'm only going to put in one pocket. I guess theoretically you could put in 2, but because of the bulk, I'm only going to put in 1 pocket. So I cut a piece of paper and made sure, it fit in the way I like it, which is just a tiny border all the way around. Okay. And since this flap, of course, is going to get glued to your paper on the inside, you've got to do something with this particular gap that's showing up right there. So how I dealt with it, and this is just me, it's how I did it. I did this, and then I am going to glue. You don't want to glue to here, because then you won't have a pocket to get into. I want to glue all of this here, this big square, and a little bit down on the bottom. I wanted to do all of that and attach it to this side here. All right, so I'm just going to put glue, making sure I have my little border there. Just going to put glue right along these areas so that I make sure that I don't glue down this area. And then I'll put down my paper over that. All right, and I'm going to put a thumb notch up there. And then after that, I'm just going to come back in here and I'm going to glue just up this side here. All right. Okay. And that way I still have that pocket in there. Now you don't have to put in, a thumb notch if you don't want to, but I did, so I'm going to need to punch that out. There we go. Should have did that before I glued it together. Sorry. All right. It's probably easier not to do the thumb notch. It's just a heads up on that. All right, so that way you have a pocket inside here. Dry. It takes a while for the glue to really attach to craft paper, so you don't want to be doing too much to it until it dries well. So that's what I've done with these here, and I've got a little piece of ephemera already inside of them. But they are a pocket, just one pocket, okay? So that's how I handled my gap in there and what I did, just in case that's what you would like to do. And I've got my paper again to put here on the back, and I'm going to start lining up my flaps the way I like them, just like I did on the front. So I'm putting 2 on one side like this, and you can have as many flaps as you want, of course. And I'm putting one over here. I might put these a little closer together. I kind of like there. That's about right. That's good. I like that. And then let me put in. I love working with these little clamps. I got these in the quilting department. That's where I got these at. They just are like an extra hand. And then once I've got that the way I like it, yep, and I want him to be like in the middle. So I'm just going to come to the back and I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the other one. And we'll just come in here and hold it down. And glue it down. Now, really these flaps are huge. I could cut these in half. Definitely, and I probably really should do that next time just because it would reduce a little bit of the bulk, I guess. And while I'm thinking of it, let me just go ahead and do it. Because you don't really need that much in there. Yeah, as long as you got like maybe 3/4 of an inch, you probably are good to go. Okay, we'll just get this glued in quickly. And there we are. Okay. And press down really hard on this. So there it is. Now what I'm going to do on the inside of this cover is I'm going to put a little tuck spot here up at the top. And I'm using the same material as I used over here. I like it because it had like this green tint to it. And we'll just glue that in like a upside down pocket. Glue it there. And we'll just put that right up there. Oops, right up there on top. Okay. There we go. And that will be the tuck spot that eventually I'm going to use to put in pieces of ephemera and decorate that all up. So this is what I will be doing for the back side. So that these are all done. These they have to be decorated, but they're done. And now we'll just work on the cover. So on the cover, I have this. This is going to be my cover. And what I want to do is I want to put in one of these. So okay, that does it for this tutorial on putting together this little envelope journal. Very, there are steps to it, but I don't think it's too difficult. And I'll be finishing this up, and I will say this should be in my Etsy store within the next day or two. Just going to get the details finished in here, and I'll be selling this one as well. And so please check that out. And thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed having you for company, and maybe this will give you some inspiration and ideas. So we will be talking to you real soon. Bye.